Okay, so One Piece was basically, kind of like the same thing with Dragon Ball Z, where, it was about like exploration and life and trying to find like oneself and progress. And, one of the many reasons why like people love Asian cultures because it reminds us of that. So we get like drawn into it so easily. But instead, One Piece was about adventure, finding oneself, progress, and life and just the adventure. Where is it going to take you next? This wild imagination. And it worked. The concept worked. You could make as many episodes as you want, and the episodes never had to end. They could go to another city, another civilization, and who knew what they were going to find themselves in next. So basically, from what I remember, One Piece was about a pirate by the name of Luffy, Monkey D. Luffy. And so what ended up happening though was Luffy. It's kind of interesting because like when One Piece first came out, Luffy, when if you remember when he was a kid, he was scared of pirates and everything. But then that was before he ate the cursed. I'm trying to think. What was it? Was it the gum gum? And it made him a rubber man. It turned him into somebody. Basically, he couldn't die. And so the the same guy that tried to kill him and feed him to the sharks, he ended up killing him, and the sharks ended up ironically eating that guy. If that's what I remember. I could be wrong though. But of course, though, the story was always about trying to find Golden Rogers. Before they hung him at the gallows, the last, like, his final words were like, his fortune is yours for the taking. He's like, but you have to find it first. He's like, I left everything I own in One Piece, and that's what it's about. Is trying to find Golden Roger's treasure before, and everybody else was setting sail, and nobody had any clue where this guy's treasure was. It was just like the purest of gold. It can be yours, but you have to find it first. The greatest scavenger hunt continues. As of right now, One Piece has become a $21 billion industry, and that's with all the media it's sold, the video games, the mangas, the, again, Japanese comic books in this case, the merchandise, anything that has the title of One Piece written on it. They've reported that much in revenue. Okay, so if you want to know where the creator got the inspiration for One Piece, there was I don't know if it was a Japanese anime movie, but it was something from 1974 called Vicky the Viking, and yeah, I mean, I've never heard of it until now, but it's quite interesting. Again, Vikings were, ruthless. They sailed the seas, again, like pirates, but they were barbarians, and basically, from what we understand, they pillaged and looted and raped and done all sorts of crazy things, and they took treasures, and when they like the way they buried their dead. This was what was really interesting. They'd put them on a seaboat, and then they'd sail them off and light the ship on fire and watch it burn into the sea as they stood and watched, and had like a celebration or a funeral for them. It's interesting how, everybody has their own celebrations and culture. At one point, and I don't know if this is still the world record. I mean, of course, One Piece is still going on, so I'm sure this number is even higher. But think of it like this. If you really want to see how many copies, as far as mangas go, that the creator, because I always keep forgetting his name, the creator of One Piece actually sold, as far as Japanese comic books go, as of 2014, and since the beginning of when, because I've drawn a blank what year One Piece came out in, basically, from a single author, how many total copies he sold was like 320,866,000 individual books. So to say that One Piece is a series that doesn't have a lot of, comics out there, you could probably find one very easily. And it's quite interesting, even to this day, the fan base still holds its value. Like tons of people still interested in the series and what's going to happen next. And what's really cool about this is Oda was the creator's name of the guy that created One Piece. But what was really interesting, though, was he stated that when he was growing up, there was actually, he drew inspirations from the Wizard of Oz, the same Wizard of Oz you're thinking of, and actual Akira Toriyama, again the same creator of Dragon Ball Z. And it's ironic, and well, actually it's pretty cool too, because at one point Oda actually did surpass Akira at one point, as far as not Akira the movie, but Akira Toriyama as far as Dragon Ball Z. I don't know if Akira Toriyama actually passed him again, but One Piece was a series that actually did surpass Dragon Ball Z at one point as far as popularity goes. And then I can't remember what year it was, but it was definitely within the last 10 years, if I remember correctly. One of the biggest awards that, and one of the very first awards, rather, I'm not sure if it's prior to this too, but one of the very first awards that One Piece won was, it ranked 23 and something. It was a reward, but it was actually rewarded for like one of the best animes of all time, rather, you know. And I mean, back in the day, like back in 1999, this was like even before its heightened popularity in the West and all that, and worldwide, of course, you know. One Piece was, I mean, it was in production even before then, obviously, but you know, but like kind of like Dragon Ball Z, like where it ran for like 11 years and it already engrossed like $3 billion. I mean, One Piece was kind of on that same track, but in its own way. It was out for just like a short while, and it was already popular. And you know, the creators probably didn't even see it coming, you know, because again, you know, how can anybody predict something like that? You know, it's you never know what your sizable audience is, you know. But you got all these people that are fans, and you know, I mean, I guess if you look at profits over the years and look at it very closely, you can kind of get an understanding of like who likes what. But I mean, other than that, you know, you'd have to invest in so much market research, and that's a whole art of itself, you know, instead of just the time and dedication it takes to like do the manga drawings and all that. And I mean, if you really wanted to prove a point to people, like how popular something really is, I mean, you really have to look at every single angle and do so much interviews and maybe even spend a lot of money too just to get those accurate results. And it's crazy to think that some people, man, like, you know, you can, like, some people really know their audience, but at the same time, though, they really do care about their audience because you see, like, how much work they put into it. And it's not just, and here's another point I want to make. You know, this is what a lot of people don't understand, especially nowadays. Like, I mean, you don't have to be somebody, like a lot of corporations where they lie, they manipulate to people just to make as much money as possible. You don't have to be like that. There are people out there that they can make more money than they know what to do with, and they care about people, they care about their work, they care about what they're doing, and it does make a difference. And they do make as much money as possible. You know, so it just goes to show you that hard work and honesty really does pay off, you know, even if some people don't see it like that. Okay, so like I said earlier about how many copies they sold, apparently I figured it out. So as of right now, Akira Toriyama and Oda. Oda's One Piece is still the best-selling manga of all time. It still has roughly around 470 million units that have been sold worldwide. So individual books that have been printed. Not, I mean, not necessarily that many volumes, but you know, copies. And I mean, it's nuts to think that somebody could inspire that many people. But it's true though. You know, a lot of people, you know, big ideas and a lot of hard work, and you have like this wild imagination, and then it can turn into like this big. It's just amazing how like somebody can take something that's just an idea and then, you know, turn it into something huge. There's no boundaries. Like, it's almost like a fantasy really is reality, you know. It's like, or even another example, like, you know, even look at like Walt Disney, like how they used to do like the old cartoons from like 1930s, or even like Japanese animation back, like way back in like 1907 or 06. You know, like how they just did like stills and all that. It didn't have sound, but it was like the details were there and it worked, you know. It's crazy to think, like, you know, people always find a way to make things work. You can just tell how serious somebody is based on, you know, this concept. And it just goes to show you once again that even if you have dreams, you should never give up on them. You should always keep going. Somewhere in the world, and I'm not sure where it's at, and somebody actually built 2 replica life statues of the the two ships, Going Merry and Thousand Sunny, I believe, is the other one. Correct me if I'm wrong. But it's very interesting, like, you know, again, culture references, but at the same time, though, people taking an idea that they've been inspired by and making it realistic. It's nuts, man. Like, even Oda would be proud, like, just the amount of influence he's got on people, and, you know, it's just cool. Like, people can actually build something realistic like that, and the details are all correct and everything. It's nuts what some people can do, man. As of right now, or even maybe in the past, there was roughly like 990 chapters, but at the same time, though, there was like 97 manga volumes that exist as of right now, at least. So manga is being like every chapter, but like you see, like, well, actually manga is like how many different books there are, but like they can have more than one chapter, obviously, like maybe 30, 27. Some of them, but it just really depends. But it's, again, it's nuts, like, just how they've done it over the years. And even Toriyama and Oda actually did team up to do a crossover at one point. It's crazy, all these things they do. I mean, it makes sense, you know, they work together. It's like a family, one big family. And, you know, I mean, it made sense, too, because Akira liked helping people out, and Oda was a huge inspiration for him. So he obviously wanted him to pitch in if he could, which is, you know, understandable. So here's one you probably didn't know. So if you actually compared the total chapters to the total episodes that were aired in the series, I mean, I didn't really think about this until now, but even for series that have this many run episodes, or, you know, how many mangas they have, there's usually certain things they actually do skip in certain parts. Like, so for example, like even Dragon Ball Z probably did this more than once. I wouldn't be surprised. Where, like, you know, they might have took like a certain part of the anime and then they explained it at a different point, and then they kind of skipped over it when it actually happened in the manga. So like it'd be like in the same aspect but in its own way, where, like, you know, like a Hollywood movie could make a movie based on a book, but like they had like their own adaptation of it. I mean, like, for example, I know like The Hobbit did the same thing, and Lord of the Rings did the same thing. Harry Potter did the same thing. So it's like you can like read like the mangas and compare the anime side by side and really see like how much of it is different, rather than it just being all animated and everything. And so One Piece has its like, there's certain episodes that they skip certain arcs, or not all arcs, but like certain details in it, or maybe they might have explained it at a different point. So you basically can see like how it runs in a different order, rather. And here's one you probably might remember back in the day, but when One Piece first aired back in 1997, I believe, and then by 2002, it was actually, Oda was actually thinking about ending the series, but after he became so successful with what he was doing, I guess he changed his mind because of, you know, he found what he was finally looking for all this time, you know, adventure and success after it. So the series was, you know, it just goes to show you, like I said before, you know, people are never prepared for this kind of thing. Like, if you were somebody that found out like that they had a hit on their hands, they're probably gonna stick around with it, because this is like, oh my god, like, you know, a lot of people actually like this, you know, even though he liked what he was doing, and he obviously loved what he was doing. So the confidence was there and the enthusiasm was there, so why not keep rolling with it? That's all the inspiration one needs, right? So anyways, hopefully you learned something about this. You know, comment, rate, subscribe, favorite, share this video. If you're new to this channel, welcome aboard. I take requests if you have any. If you want to support me on Patreon, the link's in the description. You don't have to if you don't want to, but just throwing that out there. And I will see you all next time. Have a wonderful day, everybody.